Hello, dear friends, welcome. It's so good to be with you today. Have you ever paused in your kitchen, perhaps while making a comforting cup of tea or unpacking your groceries, and wondered about the unseen things that might be part of your everyday life? We often focus on the visible, the freshness of our food, the cleanliness of our counters, but sometimes the things we can't see, the things we take for granted, can carry hidden concerns. Today I want to talk about something that's been quietly making its way into our homes, and particularly into our kitchens, often without us even realizing it. It's a topic that might sound a little alarming at first, but please, stay with me. Because knowledge is power, and my hope today is to empower you, to guide you gently towards making small, informed choices that can make a big difference to your well-being and peace of mind. We're going to explore a group of chemicals that you might have heard about, often referred to as forever chemicals, and how they can find their way into some of the most common paper products we use every single day. Think about it. The paper towel you use to wipe a spill, the cup that holds your morning coffee on the go, even the wrapper around a quick snack. These seemingly innocent items can sometimes be sources of something we'd rather avoid. We're specifically going to look at 3 common paper products that can be coated in these toxic substances, which are known scientifically as PFAS. And yes, it can feel like a bit of a kitchen nightmare when you first learn about this. But our aim here isn't to cause fear. It's to bring awareness, to share information in a way that's easy to understand, and most importantly, to discuss practical steps we can all take. First things first, let's demystify this term, PFAS. What exactly are we talking about? PFAS stands for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Now that's quite a mouthful, isn't it? And honestly, you don't need to memorize the long name. What's important to understand is why they are a concern. These are a large complex group of manufactured chemicals that have been used in industry and consumer products around the world since the 1940s. You'll find them in everything from non-stick cookware, like Teflon, which was one of the first uses, to water-repellent clothing, stain-resistant fabrics and carpets, some cosmetics, and even firefighting foams. The reason they are so widely used is because they have some very desirable properties for manufacturing. They are incredibly effective at repelling oil, water, grease, and stains. Think about a raincoat that keeps you perfectly dry in a downpour, or a food wrapper that doesn't get soggy from greasy food. PFAS are often the secret ingredient making that happen. But here's the rub, and it's a significant one. The very thing that makes PFAS so effective, their strong chemical bonds, particularly the carbon-fluorine bond, which is one of the strongest in organic chemistry, also makes them incredibly persistent. They don't break down easily in the environment. They don't break down easily in our bodies. And that's why they've earned that rather ominous nickname, forever chemicals. Once they are out there, in the environment or in us, they tend to stick around for a very, very long time. This persistence means they can accumulate over time, both in the natural world, in soil, water, and wildlife, and within our own systems if we are repeatedly exposed. Imagine a tiny drop of ink falling into a large basin of water. One drop might not seem like much, but if those drops keep falling day after day, and the ink never fades or disappears, eventually the entire basin can become colored. PFAS behave in a similar way, building up slowly, often without us being aware of the daily, small exposures. Scientists are increasingly concerned about this accumulation because studies have linked PFAS exposure to a range of health problems. These can include impacts on the immune system, making us more susceptible to illnesses. They've been associated with certain types of cancer, liver damage, thyroid disease, increased cholesterol levels, and developmental issues in children. For us, as we grow older, and our bodies might already be managing other health considerations, minimizing exposure to potentially harmful substances like PFAS becomes even more pertinent. It's about protecting the good health we have and striving for the best quality of life possible. So the forever nature of these chemicals, combined with their potential to cause harm, is why it's so important for us to understand where they might be lurking, especially in items we use frequently. It's not about creating panic, but about fostering a gentle, informed vigilance. Now that we have a clearer idea of what PFAS are and why they're a concern, let's turn our attention to where they might be hiding in plain sight, specifically in some common paper products that many of us use without a second thought. It can be surprising, even a bit unsettling, to learn that items we consider to be simple and disposable can carry these persistent chemicals. We're going to look at 3 key culprits. First on our list, and this one might truly surprise you, toilet paper. Yes, you heard that right. Toilet paper. It's an absolute household staple, something we all use multiple times a day. Who would think that something so basic could be a source of PFAS? Well, recent research has indeed started to shed light on this. Studies, including some that have analyzed wastewater and sewage sludge, have found PFAS present, and toilet paper has been identified as a potential contributor. Now, why would toilet paper contain these chemicals? It's not typically because PFAS are intentionally added to toilet paper for their water-repellent properties, as they are in some other products. Instead, the contamination often comes from the manufacturing process itself, or if the toilet paper is made from recycled fibers. If the recycled paper pulp used to make new toilet paper originally came from materials that contained PFAS, like certain types of packaging or coated papers, then those PFAS can carry over into the final toilet paper product. Also, some chemicals used in the pulping and paper-making process, or even lubricants from machinery, could potentially be sources. What are the implications? When toilet paper containing PFAS is flushed, it enters the wastewater system. Because PFAS are so stable, wastewater treatment plants often can't fully remove them. This means these chemicals can be released into rivers, lakes, and oceans, contributing to environmental contamination. The sludge from wastewater treatment, sometimes used as fertilizer on agricultural land, can also spread PFAS into the soil, potentially contaminating crops. So it's not just a direct exposure issue, it's also an environmental one that can come full circle. From a direct health perspective, while the amount of PFAS you might absorb through skin contact with toilet paper is likely to be lower than, say, ingesting contaminated food or water, it's still a potential route of exposure, especially considering the frequency of use. And for some PFAS compounds, even small repeated exposures can add up over time. There's also the concern about what happens when this paper breaks down and these chemicals are released. Some researchers are looking into whether PFAS from toilet paper can contribute to the overall body burden of these chemicals, and how it might affect sensitive individuals or contribute to issues like endocrine disruption. The endocrine system, as you know, is vital for regulating hormones, and any interference can have widespread effects on our health. This news about toilet paper isn't meant to make you want to give it up entirely, that's hardly practical, but it is a call to be more mindful, and we'll talk about how to choose safer options a little later on. It's about understanding that even the most mundane items can have a story to tell about their chemical makeup. Let's move on to our second common paper product, disposable paper cups. How many of us have grabbed a coffee or tea in a disposable paper cup when we're out and about, or perhaps even used them at a community gathering or a picnic? They're convenient, no doubt. But that convenience can come with a hidden cost. Most paper cups, especially those designed to hold hot beverages like coffee or tea, or even cold, wet drinks, need a lining to prevent them from becoming soggy and leaking. Traditionally, this lining was often made of plastic, like polyethylene. However, to make paper more resistant to grease and water, and sometimes to help these linings adhere or to improve the paper's own resistance, PFAS chemicals can be used in the manufacturing of the paper cup itself or in its coating. These chemicals help create that barrier that stops your hot drink from seeping through. So how do these PFAS get from the cup into you? Well, when you pour a hot liquid into a cup treated with PFAS, the heat can cause these chemicals to leach out of the cup lining and into your drink. The longer the hot liquid sits in the cup, and the hotter it is, the more potential there is for these chemicals to migrate. Think about that piping hot tea you might let steep for a few minutes, or the coffee you sip slowly. You're not just ingesting your beverage, you could also be ingesting small amounts of these forever chemicals. I remember reading about a study, and there have been several looking into this, where researchers tested hot water left in PFAS-treated paper cups. They found that significant levels of these chemicals could transfer into the water, especially within the first 15–20 minutes. It's a bit like how tea leaves release their flavor and color into hot water. These chemicals too can be released. The potential health concerns are similar to what we've already discussed: accumulation in the body over time, and links to issues like immune system problems, hormonal disruption, and increased risk for certain diseases. For us seniors, maintaining a strong immune system and stable hormonal balance is so important for overall vitality. Every little bit we can do to reduce unnecessary chemical exposure helps. Imagine Mrs. Davis, a lovely lady who enjoys her daily walk and always stops at her favorite local cafe for a hot tea to go. She does this every day. She's doing something wonderful for her physical activity, but unknowingly, that daily paper cup could be a small, consistent source of PFAS. Over weeks, months, and years, these small exposures can add up. This isn't to single out Mrs. Davis or her cafe. It's a widespread issue with many disposable food and beverage containers. It's a reminder that what holds our food and drink can be just as important as the food and drink itself. And third on our list today, and this one is very relevant to the kitchen, is food packaging paper. This is a broad category, encompassing things like microwave popcorn bags, fast food wrappers for burgers, fries, sandwiches, bakery bags or papers that hold pastries, and even some pizza box liners. The common thread here is that these papers are designed to come into direct contact with food, often food that is greasy, oily, or moist. Why are PFAS used here? For exactly their grease-repelling and water-repelling properties. They prevent oil from seeping through a burger wrapper onto your hands, stop butter from soaking through a pastry bag, and help keep your pizza box from falling apart due to moisture and grease. In the case of microwave popcorn bags, PFAS coatings are particularly effective at handling high temperatures and preventing oil from leaking out during the popping process. The threat here is quite direct. When these PFAS-treated papers are in contact with our food, especially if the food is hot or fatty, the chemicals can migrate from the packaging into the food itself. We then eat the food and the PFAS along with it. This is a very efficient way for these chemicals to enter our bodies. Think about a family picnic. You might have individually wrapped sandwiches in greaseproof paper or a box of fried chicken. Or perhaps it's movie night at home with a bag of microwave popcorn. These are enjoyable, often convenient moments, but the packaging could be silently transferring these unwanted chemicals into the very food we're about to enjoy. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and other international bodies have acknowledged the migration of PFAS from food packaging into food. While some specific types of PFAS have been phased out of food packaging in some regions due to health concerns, other types may still be in use, and it can be very difficult for us as consumers to know for sure what's in the packaging unless it's explicitly stated. The health risks, again, revolve around the accumulation of these chemicals and their potential to disrupt bodily functions. When we ingest PFAS through contaminated food, they are absorbed into our bloodstream and can accumulate in various organs. For seniors, whose bodies might already be working harder to process and eliminate toxins, minimizing this kind of direct ingestion is particularly wise. We want our food to nourish us, not to be a vehicle for potentially harmful chemicals. So there we have it: toilet paper, disposable paper cups, and food packaging paper. 3 everyday items that might be contributing to our PFAS exposure. It can feel a bit disheartening, can't it? To think that things so commonplace could harbor these forever chemicals. But please don't let this information leave you feeling helpless, because the next and most important part of our conversation is about what we can do. There are positive, practical steps we can take. Now, I know that hearing about these invisible threats can be a bit concerning. You might be thinking, what on earth am I supposed to do now? Are these chemicals everywhere? And it's true, they are quite widespread. But the wonderful thing is, awareness is the first step towards positive change, and there are indeed many simple, effective ways we can reduce our exposure to PFAS in our daily lives. It's about making conscious choices, one step at a time. Let's explore some of these together. First, let's talk about choosing reliable paper products. This means becoming a bit of a detective when you shop, but it's easier than it sounds. When it comes to toilet paper, this can be a bit tricky because manufacturers aren't always transparent about PFAS. However, here are a few things to look for or consider. Look for PFAS-free labels. This is the gold standard. As awareness grows, more companies are starting to test and label their products as PFAS-free. This is the clearest indication. Choose unbleached or chlorine-free, PCF, processed chlorine-free options. While this doesn't guarantee no PFAS, it often indicates a more mindful manufacturing process. Some PFAS contamination can be linked to bleaching processes or the chemicals used in them. Consider virgin pulp over recycled if PFAS is a major concern. This is a nuanced one because recycled paper is generally great for the environment. However, as we discussed, recycled pulp can sometimes carry over PFAS from its original source. If you are highly sensitive or concerned, toilet paper made from 100% virgin pulp from responsibly managed forests, look for FSC certification, Forest Stewardship Council, might be less likely to have these carryover contaminants, though it's not a foolproof guarantee without explicit PFAS-free labeling. Reach out to companies. If you have a favorite brand, don't hesitate to contact them and ask if they test for PFAS or if their products are PFAS-free. Consumer inquiries can also encourage companies to be more transparent and to make changes. For disposable paper cups, the best advice is to try and avoid them when you can. But if you do need to use one, bring your own reusable cup. This is by far the best solution when you're getting coffee or tea on the go. Many cafes even offer a small discount if you bring your own mug. A stainless steel, glass or ceramic travel mug is a fantastic investment for your health and the planet. Look for explicitly PFAS-free cups. Some manufacturers are now offering paper cups that are lined with plant-based materials like PLA, a bioplastic, and are certified compostable and PFAS-free. These are becoming more common, especially in health-conscious cafes or stores. If unsure, minimize contact time with hot liquids. If you must use a standard paper cup, try not to let your hot beverage sit in it for an extended period before drinking. And for food packaging paper, limit foods that come in grease-resistant packaging. This often means reducing consumption of fast foods or heavily processed packaged snacks. This has the added benefit of usually being a healthier food choice overall. Transfer food out of packaging quickly. If you buy microwave popcorn, consider popping kernels the old-fashioned way on the stovetop or in an air popper. If you get takeout in a coated paper container, transfer it to your own ceramic or glass plate or container as soon as you get home, especially before reheating. Never reheat food in these types of packaging. Look for brands that commit to PFAS-free packaging. Some companies are actively working to remove PFAS from their food packaging. Supporting these brands sends a powerful message. Look for claims like PFAS-free packaging on products. Use your own containers. For bakery items, ask if they can be placed in a simple, uncoated paper bag you bring yourself or a reusable container. When packing your own lunch or snacks, use glass containers, stainless steel boxes, or reusable beeswax wraps instead of plastic bags or suspect paper. Beyond choosing specific products, an even more impactful approach is to change some of our lifestyle habits to reduce our reliance on single-use items in general. This not only lowers your PFAS exposure risk, but is also kinder to our planet. Embrace reusables wherever possible. We've touched on reusable coffee cups and food containers, but think broader. Cloth napkins instead of paper ones at home. Using real plates and cutlery, even for casual meals instead of paper plates and plastic utensils. Storing leftovers in glass containers rather than relying on plastic wrap or coated paper. Every switch to a reusable item is a victory. Cook more at home from fresh ingredients. When you cook from scratch, you have much more control over what goes into your food and what it comes into contact with. This naturally reduces your reliance on packaged and processed foods that might come with PFAS-treated wrappers or containers. Plus, it's a wonderful way to ensure you're getting nutritious, wholesome meals. Be wary of compostable claims without PFAS-free confirmation. This is a tricky one. Some compostable food serviceware has, in the past, been found to contain PFAS to achieve its grease and water resistance. If it doesn't explicitly say PFAS-free, It's wise to be cautious as PFAS can contaminate compost and subsequently the soil. Stay informed. The landscape around PFAS is evolving. New research emerges and regulations change. Subscribing to newsletters from reputable environmental health organizations or consumer groups can help you stay updated. Making these changes doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start small, pick one area. Maybe it's switching to a reusable coffee cup or trying a new brand of toilet paper. Once that becomes a habit, you can look at another area. Every small step contributes to a larger positive impact on your health and the environment. This is about gentle guidance and empowering you with choices, not about adding stress to your life. It's about finding joy in taking good care of yourself. While the individual choices we make are incredibly important and empowering, it's also true that tackling the issue of PFAS contamination requires more than just our personal efforts. These forever chemicals are a systemic problem woven into many industrial processes and products over decades. So what can be done at a broader level, and how can we, as concerned individuals, contribute to that larger solution? Addressing PFAS from the source is crucial. This involves a multifaceted approach: regulation and policy. Governments and regulatory agencies around the world are slowly starting to take action. This includes setting limits for PFAS in drinking water, restricting or banning the use of certain PFAS chemicals in products like food packaging and firefighting foam, and investing in research for safer alternatives and remediation technologies. Supporting policies and elected officials who prioritize environmental health and chemical safety is one way to contribute. Industry responsibility. Companies have a significant role to play. This means phasing out the use of PFAS in their products and manufacturing processes, even when not legally required to do so. It involves investing in research and development of safer, non-persistent alternatives that can still provide the desired functions, like water or grease resistance, without the associated health and environmental risks. As consumers, we can vote with our wallets by supporting companies that are transparent about their ingredients and are actively moving away from harmful chemicals. Research and innovation. Continued scientific research is vital. We need to better understand the full range of health effects of different PFAS, how they move through the environment, and the most effective ways to clean up existing contamination. Innovation in developing safer chemical alternatives and new materials is also key. Community awareness and advocacy. This is where each of us can truly make a difference beyond our own homes. Talking about this issue with friends, family, and within your community can raise awareness. Supporting environmental and health advocacy groups that are working on the PFAS issue can amplify your voice. These organizations often do crucial work in research, lobbying for better regulations, and educating the public. It might seem like a daunting task, but history shows us that collective concern and action can lead to significant changes. Think about past environmental challenges. Public awareness and pressure have often been key drivers for positive shifts. Let's not feel discouraged by the scale of the problem, but rather inspired by the potential for positive change. We are not just passive bystanders, we are active participants in shaping a healthier world. Your choices, your voice, your awareness, they all contribute to a ripple effect. So, dear friends, we've covered quite a bit of ground today, haven't we? We've talked about these forever chemicals, PFAS, what they are, and how they can unexpectedly show up in common paper products, right in our kitchens and homes, from toilet paper and disposable cups to food packaging. It's natural to feel a little concerned when we uncover these hidden aspects of our everyday items, but my deepest hope is that you also feel informed and, most importantly, empowered, because this knowledge isn't meant to burden you, but to equip you. It's about understanding that we have choices, and that even small changes in our routines and purchasing decisions can make a meaningful difference to our well-being and to the health of our environment. Remember those key takeaways. Be aware. PFAS are persistent chemicals, and they can be found in some surprising places. Choose wisely. Look for PFAS-free labels, opt for reusable alternatives whenever possible, and be a conscious consumer. Ask questions of manufacturers if you need to. Adapt your habits. Reducing reliance on single-use items not only minimizes potential PFAS exposure, but also benefits our planet in so many ways. Stay hopeful and proactive. While the problem is widespread, solutions are emerging, and individual actions, combined with broader efforts, can lead to real change. Perhaps the most important message I want to leave you with is that you are not alone in this. Many people are becoming more aware and are seeking ways to live healthier, more mindful lives. By sharing this information, by making conscious choices, you become part of a growing movement towards a safer and more sustainable future. I encourage you to reflect on one small change you might consider making after hearing this today. Maybe it's investing in a reusable coffee mug, or trying a different brand of toilet paper, or simply being more mindful when you encounter food packaging. Whatever it is, know that it's a step in a positive direction. Thank you so much for joining me today, for lending your time and your attention to this important topic. It's a privilege to share this journey of learning and discovery with you. Let's continue to support each other in making choices that nurture our health, our homes, and our world. Until next time, take good care, stay curious, and live well.